I caught it on early, huh? Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. I'm still recovering from having the flu, so bear with me. It's mostly just a little bit of a sore throat, but it's mostly just the cough. Anyway, in the last episode, what did we do in the last episode? Oh yeah, in the last episode we found out that the murder that happened at the police department in their, I think, what was it, their records room, evidence locker, turned out to be a fake, and we also found out that Detective Goodman, who was the victim who was stabbed in the prosecutor's office, or prosecutor's parking lot, was not the person who was there. We actually don't know who that was. But anyway, February 24th, 12:14 p.m., District Court, courtroom number 9. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Scott. Emma didn't come back. Oh yeah, she ran away. I'm going to call the next witness to the stand. Oh wait, didn't we also get the SL9 incident files for the Joe Darkey killing solved 2 years ago. The Joe Darkey killings, that's right. Let me call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Jesse McCree. Let me stop. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man. Same as you, wondering the trials of civilization. Occasionally help the elderly cross the intersection when needed. Yes, we get it. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you'll hear the howling wind call it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony on the day of the crime. In plain old English. Witness testimony, day of the crime. My job was keeping wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room was protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it began. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if y'all out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. We found his fingerprint. I remember finding his fingerprint. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Well, yes. What about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickey are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses, now don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Day of the crime. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone. How exactly do you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who interned the records. You interned. Videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is reported, the tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for dramatic, but it ain't going to do any good. So in actuality, you don't physically enter the room. That's a contradiction right there. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I say, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No, Desperado, I know. Let's rules get in his way. No, Desperados, I know, join the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. I haven't been in that Wright in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? That's honestly a good point. Besides, the room is protected by 2 security systems. Hold it. You used to be a detective, so you used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course, back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism? Sorry, partner, I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a mic works. That's quite, incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing during the crime took place? If I remember right, I was at the side street saloon at the time. Bro, why you go to a saloon? You got so much doing. You got so much frickin' alcohol in your guard station. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Okay. Not even angel steaks. Steak lunches can beat that parlor's one goal CP pasta. What? Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police to just eat some noodles? Not all desperados are taught. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edward says, "Objection! Did you not want him racist here?" Just innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time to hide the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall. That's right, partner. Or as you call it, evidence. If you plan to pin me to this crime, you better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back to the sunset. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. So was this guy born in Japan and he just saw a cowboy movie? He saw a Chuck Norris film one day? Or is this guy actually from like Texas? I can't tell. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card on my sleeve, so I best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I better up the ante. My job's very so the trump card being actually I never looked at the files. Incident number SL9. Closed. Perpetrator Joe Darkey. Crime serial murder. Sentence death. Victims Edward Jones, Jason Knight, Eve Kirby, Rachel Moss, Jeb Bates, Neil Marshall. Wait. Marshall was I think I may have found a motive for good old Marshall. I'm assuming I've never met a girl named Neil. I've met plenty of guys named Neil, so I'm gonna assume it was his brother. His brother was a victim of Joe Darkey. Head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, witness Anna Sky, Emma Sky. Investigation Task Force, executive investigators Damon Grant, Anna Sky. So she was an investigator. So she was a detective before she became head prosecutor. Interesting. I wonder why she made the transfer. Head investigator Bruce Goodman, investigator Jake Marshall, Angel Star. I'm glad I took a look at that. So there's a contradiction somewhere in this. Don't think this. Oh. Okay, I know when I need to use it. I gotta use the trump card. Where? If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time. Wait, I want to go through it again. I want to see which one he says that he never entered in. I didn't set foot in the evidence room. Alright, I got it. And... Objection! Oh, I'm wrong. Oh, I'm wrong. Cough, cough. Okay, there we go. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time. Used to be a detective, so you used the evidence from the past few wars back in my day. And you didn't know my finger. Sorry, partner. At any rate, it doesn't seem like this is a real crime. Do I present it for this? Objection! Objection! Gotcha! Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd that is you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime, and yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints. I wish it were, officer. What you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the scene of the crime? Where the crime scene? The blood was wiped away, however. A luminal testing test revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? It seems to me that all you see is violence. There ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall. Why does Edgeworth not seem surprised about this? Because we didn't tell him about this. This was our trump card. Edgeworth had no idea, yet he doesn't seem surprised at all about the blood-stained fingerprints. Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints found at the scene of the crime. Blood-stained fingerprints. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained thing. The murderer touched the locker with my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I have nothing to do with it. Oh, my trump card just got shat on. The witness explanation appears valid. Although there's room for doubt, life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence. Hold it! That's because how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That is one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean, I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken It'd be strange my prints weren't all over that locker. The locker's programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without even knowing it. Found on a bloody handprint on Marshall's own locker, the print has been wiped. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained handprint. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine, it's no mystery. Please explain. My locker is covered with my fingerprints. It's just so happened. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprints made a chance. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me with a mirrored fingerprint. You wanna know why? The bloodstain and the fingerprint are related. Unrelated? They are as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast while the other is a type of murder. He's right. Although seemingly alike, they're totally different. I don't see what comedies have to do with this. Or didn't you know the murder was... How did you know that? How would you know that? Exactly, Phoenix. I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on the handprint. Yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? The seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that partner. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime? Isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your I've said the word speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, his whole freaking argument is speculating. And assuming that's his locker, we don't know if that is. We're just assuming he's telling the truth. And two, we don't know if he was actually in there or not. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in the video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. I'll give you 1 minute, Your Honor. I'll look at my evidence. How do I fast forward? Oh my god, don't tell me I can't fast forward. No handprint on the locker. There's no bloody handprint on the locker. Glove falls over. Here comes Officer Meekins. There's no bloody handprint. Dang, bro. Officer Meekins just got folded, dog. guy never walked back by the camera, I just realized. Wait. I'll see that. I got it. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. Da 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 da. Notice how there's nothing at that locker yet. Bringing our attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The day are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. Can clearly be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, you did do it anyway. You can clearly be seen in this video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witness's, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Officer only got caught slacking, even though he had this element of surprise. Oh, the white cloth, it's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera turned away. Order! Order! It would seem that's the old your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. What? Yes, it is. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Didn't we just go over how their fingerprints scanned? Why is everyone staring at me like that? Like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your brain, but you're the only person who can't open the locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker, now prove it. Shit, okay, that's easy. And take that! Fingerprint sensor. Oh, look who's sweating bullets. Talked about this earlier today. Lockers can only be opened by the detective they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are some people on the force that don't even know what the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Is that jerky? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! Order! 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 Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Yeah, eat that jerky. Eat that jerky. Oi! Please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can. Have a look at these floor plans. There is no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then who was the witness? Seems Mr. Wright has an answer. I do. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? He was in the locker, Your Honor. Well, if he couldn't have been in here, he would have to be outside, right? Take that! He would have to be outside. Officer Marshall was standing right here. So Officer Meekins didn't notice him standing there. That's almost as credible as Meekins' rap theory. Your chamber's empty, partner. Better reload. Oh, what? Now they're just ganging up on me. Perhaps you should think a little more about where Officer Marshall was. Officer Meekins should have seen him in the evidence room. That means the only place he could have been would have been. Well then, let's hear it. He couldn't have. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? I don't know. I thought he wouldn't have been in here. He would have to be somewhere over here. Unless he was hiding, like, right here in this gap. That would explain why the fingerprint was on his locker. Could be an explanation for a fingerprint. Take that! I'll just guess. Damn it! Officer Meekins should have seen him in the evidence room. That means the only place he could have been. Can I save my progress first before I lose? Had it been outside. Take that! Or at least just coming in. Bro, I don't know, okay? Wait, what if he was the victim? Take that! Officer Marshall was standing right here. There. That's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I'm disappointed in myself for that. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. That's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he knows for sure. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did the Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Oh, the same knife he uses to shave that beard. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If a man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his card would have been discovered below. Officer Meekins would have realized the man was Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? Yeah, eat that turkey! You got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me. He's literally holding the knife. Come on, bro. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the only one who couldn't take that desert heat. This can't be happening. So obviously someone went to Uh-oh. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was what? But rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it had been. Which means he didn't originally put his locker. According to the defense's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as the Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is the piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence of the video's weaponly shot. Very well, let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Wait, rewind. The blood. Take that! For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room, though I don't know to what end yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat? You couldn't just walk out like that. So you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did, all of it. All right. Seems the time has come. Witness testimony, Marshall's confession. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. Bro, the amount of blood that was in there might as well have been a murder. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's only one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor at the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. Marshall's confession. I had to do it that day. I couldn't stand by and let it die. He's talking about SL9. When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I had anything to do with it. That incident's not over. What did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself, one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? Because of his brother. That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card, I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out the lost time report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. Why? The ID card was found left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite the lack of your foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under no normal circumstances, you would have been able to open the lock yourself. But you could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. He pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is one in a million type person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding that he show his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way. With me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your... Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So you knocked out Officer Meekins, knocked out and managed to escape. I knew which areas were in front of the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If I had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in the struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in that security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So, what you're saying is on the day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence until 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgewood, where is that evidence? It's still missing here. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer, this is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. Witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SO9 incident. You know why. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Darkey was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure is he deserved his sentence. I remember the Joe Darkey case. It involved serial murderers, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling he would wind up sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related to that case somehow. I better take a look at the files. I already know! We already know.
Objection!
Objection! Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name, Marshall, is mentioned in here. And a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? He must have been talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 cases before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He's gonna say he was my brother. He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Grant, the deputy chief of police. The group of detectives I was a part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Why does he kind of look like Joe, Von Karma? He looks like Von Karma if he became a puppet master. Joe Darkey. My brother fought Darkey and was killed. That was the first time Darkey left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Darkey. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it. That's your reason for your insane actions. There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could have been reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery had finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The thing that happened by chance never ceased to amaze. At the exact same time as the murder at the prosecution's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murderer in the prosecution's office parking lot was the real one, which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Scott. But wait! A verdict wasn't reached during the trial. Oh, don't object my objection. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been resolved, no doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecution's office. The only suspect is Mark Scott, and the testimony of Miss Angel Star is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. No. Roar! Ow. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I don't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. Come on. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera tape was fake, but I didn't realize that would end up proving Anna's guilty. Now then, time for the verdict. The time for the verdict is arrived. The court finds this defendant. Objection! Hold it. Your Honor, wait. Emma? The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, rights? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking is for a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. Aw, look at Edgeworth being a kind-hearted person. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Darkey killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky's sisters were in the file. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. The left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Oh, what are you here for? Stop wasting my time! Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. You frickin' stupid! Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be more of use, but still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be. Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If I ever needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? Let me look at the blood print. Oh, it's not even in the freaking court record. Let me see something. Let me look at the video. I hate how I can't fast forward the video. See in the video, there's no handprint on the locker. See if it appears after the incident with Meekins and Marshall happens. It's not there. Let's keep watching. Still not there. tape resets.
Objection!
Yes. The handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. There's only one thing that seems clear. Is you're gasping. You're grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intensely at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the bloodborne. I have no idea. Let us pray that the defense isn't just trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Edgeworth's knife. I don't know. Blame Edgeworth. Question is, which item can be proof something is missing in the floor plan? Video. As they say back west, even a blind man can hit with a buckshot. That is, so long he's facing the general direction. I'm going to save real quick. Seems Mr. Wright's not sure which direction to face. It's no use. The more evidence there is, the greater the chance of me being wrong. Just calm down, Mr. Wright. Try to remember what the evidence room was like on the day of the crime. What is it that bothers me about this place? Please allow me another chance, Your Honor. Let us pray. The unstable jar? Because it said missing.
Take that!
So what's the... Don't tell me it's the blue badger. Don't tell me it's the blue badger.
Take that!
God, dude. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at that spot on the locker. So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me. I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright thought it through scientifically. Emma. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean the blood work was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment, I will not let such far-fetched blatherish in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time, it would have to be after. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on the tape. It had to have been. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murderer portrayed in the security tape was fake. However, that does not explain the blood marks found on Walker. Are you objecting my objection to your objection? So, then assuming that this murder really happened, when did it take place? I'd mean you show evidence that proves it occurred. To summarize, the defense's claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was posing as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right, the blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? Mr. Edwards said proof must be present. Proof that shows when the first murder took place. There's one piece of evidence that shows this. Now then, will the defense please present its evidence that shows when the first crime took place? There's been one thing that we've had since the start that's actually been bothering me. It is the autopsy. Name deceased Bruce Goodman. Time of death, February 21st, between 4 and 5:30 p.m. and 5:30, and it's a 30-minute drive. So the stabbing happened at 5, and then got him there at 5:30. It's still possible. I didn't mean to press that.
Take that!
This is the proof. It's quite simple, you see. If it's so simple, then don't get it wrong. If all was accepted, excuse me, we wouldn't need police. Well, I screwed up. Well, that went well. Okay, so we know it's the Blue Badger.
Take that!
I'm gonna go ahead and save over so we don't have to do that part again. Let's save again just so I don't have to go through all of it again. Couldn't it have been 420? That's the only thing I can think of, because hear me out. So, Bruce Goodman, Jake Marshall stole Bruce Goodman's his ID card, which is 5842189. He stole that. We know, we've already established that. What if at 420, the 777 number is Bruce Goodman using a temporary ID card? Because we were given, Phoenix and Emma were given a temporary card to enter the security room with. It was a visitor's card. And the fact that those are all 7s could prove it. That's my logic with this tape. The crime took place inside the evidence room. The killer would have had to enter it. In order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room. Let's see here, at 450. If the crime took place before then, it would have to be at 420. 440? What? Mr. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminal test that the blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Fortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence. I wasn't even trying to blame Edgeworth. I'm being honest. Let's take a look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman enter the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. So my wrong. Okay, he went in with 777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look at this. Look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number is 77. That's 17 too many. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 777 belongs to someone with the rank of captain or higher. How would you know that? Someone who is so-called the executive officer. You don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. Like I said, it's gotta be Grant. I'm like 99% sure that dude's the murderer. He seems way too nice. That's ridiculous, just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There is one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against the executive is accepted. An official charge. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-up and juries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. Objection! I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask you a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her. The defendant sitting over there. Like your own little executive. Objection! Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I wanted to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat the question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At least the time occasionally, we felt the powerless of the law. At least I did. Lana, I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the only ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial, 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order to get him the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if involved forging evidence. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order! KSI didn't hear that. Would have to wait until the following day. So she really used forged evidence and possibly got an innocent man killed. February 24th, 3:12 p.m. Wright and Co-Law offices. I'm so sorry, Mr. Wright. I'm sorry for what my sister said. Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. I didn't know. I never knew that the SL-96 was just another name for the Joe Darkey killings. Sounds like everyone heard about these killings but me. Lana wanted Darkey convicted. Sorry. Lana wanted Darkey convicted so badly. That's why she used me. That's why she used me for what happened to me. What do you mean what happened to you? It's all in the file. Joe Darkey's last victim was Prosecutor Neil Marshall. When he murdered Officer Marshall's brother, he left behind an incriminating piece of evidence. But what did you have to do with those killings, Emma? On the night Prosecutor Neil was murdered, Joe Darkey tried to kill me. What? He tried to kill you? Officer Marshall's brother, Neil, was the one trying to save me. So that means you. Yes. I was a witness in the Joe Darkey trial. I didn't see that one coming. I literally saw that in the papers. It happened 2 years ago. It was right about this time of year too. There was a terrible thunderstorm that day, unusual for the season. I was alone in my sister's office. We were planning to eat dinner together once she finished her work. Then suddenly, this terrifying man came bursting into the office, Joe Darkey. It seemed like he was running from someone. He pulled out a knife and screamed at me. I didn't know what was going on. Just then, Prosecutor Marshall showed up. Jake Marshall's brother. Joe Darkey tried to take me hostage, but before he could, Mr. Marshall tackled him. And then, what happened? I'll never forget it. Lightning struck and then the lights went out. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed outside the window, lighting up the office for an instant. What I saw burned a permanent picture in my mind. I can still see it now. A permanent picture. After the incident, I don't remember the moment when Darkey stabbed Mr. Marshall, so you weren't able to testify about that. No, I was only asked about when I was attacked. It must have been like Lana, why she made up the crime. Made it up? You mean provided bogus evidence? The prosecution's office wanted that guilty verdict so badly. Well, I can imagine. One of their own was killed. Lana forged the evidence and Mr. Edgeworth used it. Edgeworth? Yes, but I'm sure he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't have known he was being given false evidence. Even so, that's when it all started. The rumors about Edgeworth, it's all my fault. No, it's your sister's fault. Because not only has she tainted poor Edgeworth's record, but yeah, I If I could have just testified properly, none of this would have happened. That was true, even though he may not have known it. Edgeworth really was involved in falsifying evidence. After that case ended, Lana was never the same. She became cold like she is today. She must have not been able to face up what she did, especially not to Emma. The permanent picture. What did you see in the instant the crime occurred? Darky knocked down Mr. Marshall and raised his knife. Neil Marshall was stabbed right in front of this poor girl. I don't remember what happened after that. Apparently I passed out. When I came to, Lana was curdling me in her arms. Poor Emma, you've been through so much. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good. 2 years ago, you must have been 14. That's understandable. No, it's not. I've had a 10-year-old testify about murder, you stupid little girl. Once it all was over, I made up my mind. I decided that when I grow up, I'm going to become a scientific investigator. I want to be able to fight crime with my testimonies and find the evidence to make an airtight case. That way, Lana would never have to forge any again. I see. I think I'm finally starting to understand what makes Emma tick. But there's still something that bothers me about that crime. Something puzzling. There's something that puzzles me. That's puzzling me, Emma. What is it? You said you were in Lana's office at the time, right? That's right. Why then would a serial killer come running in there? Not only that, but he was being chased by a prosecutor? Oh, there's no mystery there. Joe Darkey had been taken in for questioning that day. Taken in for questioning? You mean by the police? Of course, this happened at the police department. He tried to run away, tried to run away halfway through his interview and fled into my sister's office. But why did he run all the way over to your sister's office? Because the detective's offices in the questioning room are right across from the elevator. Across from the elevator? But Lana was the chief prosecutor, was she not? I already figured that out earlier by looking at the file. She was a detective. No, silly. Didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective. She was the best in the entire force. What? That's news to me. After the Joe Darkey case, she was transferred to the prosecution's office and made chief prosecutor. Lana used to be a detective? I better have another talk with her. Lana, Mr. Wright, it seems I keep causing you trouble. Falsifying evidence. I didn't think you were the type. Criminals don't mind playing foul. Why should we? But Lana, if you're wrong, an innocent person might be found guilty. Believe me, I understand the risk. Lana, Emma told me about you. Oh? About how you were a detective 2 years ago, and how the SO9 incident was the reason for your transfer to the prosecution's office. That's right. Could you fill me in on the details, especially about the unusual change of jobs? I suppose you have the right to know, Mr. Wright. Today's trial. A lot of revelations were uncovered at the trial today, not the least of which was the fact that this case is largely connected to another one 2 years ago. Evidence from that case was stolen as well, though I expected as much. I know how obsessive Officer Marshall can be. That trial, it really wasn't fair, was it? I believe in you, Lana. I believe that no matter what happened, you always stick to the truth. It couldn't be helped, Emma. At that trial 2 years ago, I sold my soul. Well, all drama aside, the fact of the matter is, at 5:15, there was no murder in the police department. Tell me it's not true, Lana. What the witness, Miss Starr, said about you stabbing Mr. Goodman with a knife. Lana, I don't understand. Why won't you tell us? Emma, this doesn't involve just me. I don't think I've ever seen Lana look so phased before. Detective Lana Scott, it's true. I was a member of the police force 2 years ago. She was amazing. They still talk about all the cases she and Chief Wright cracked together. The Chief Grant. He was the deputy chief of police back then, but he still works the crime scenes. Damon Grant. He was everything I aspired to be. They were the best team ever. They solved crimes before the reports could ever even be filed. It really does idolize your big sister. But now you're chief prosecutor. What happened? I always planned on becoming a prosecutor. The reasons I became a detective was to gain experience in investigating crime scenes so you can use that experience in court, right? Grant helped in the SL9 case was crucial to its resolution. After that, he became chief of police and arranged my transfer to the prosecution's office. Maybe I should ask more about this investigation of there 2 years ago, I was second in command of the detectives investigating Darky. Second in command? That means the investigation was led by Damon Grant, right? Yes, Deputy Chief Grant, and I shared the same office and the same investigations. They even had the same office. We led a team of the best detectives on the force. Detective Goodman, whose case it was, Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. It was the first time Marshall worked with his brother. He was quite gun-ho. Without a doubt, Joe Darky was the serial killer. We asked him to come in for questioning. We were desperate for evidence. That was when his final murder took place, when he tried to murder Emma. Prosecutor Marshall was trying to save me from Darky. You see, the first person who happened upon the scene of the crime was me. Now you tell us. First one at the scene. Damon Gray and Neil Marshall were the ones questioning Darky that day. The investigation was in its final stages, and Darky must have suddenly panicked. So he waited for Grant and Marshall to let their guards down and flood the room. From there, he ran straight to the office shared by Deputy Chief Grant and myself. That's where he found me. So you were the first person to run to the scene, Lana. It appears so. I was filing some papers while Grant and Marshall were questioning Darky. Jeez. When I returned to my office, I saw 3 bodies on the floor and smelled blood. 3 bodies. 3 bodies. Prosecutor Marshall, the victim, Emma, who had passed out, and the suspect, Joe Darky. During the struggle, it seems Mr. Marshall struck a final blow before he died. Joe Darky had incurred a minor concussion and laid unconscious. What did you do? To be honest, I panicked. I picked up Emma and carried her out the room and just held her. I can't blame her. After all, her sister must have gone through. And considering their parents are both dead. After that, I placed Darky under immediate arrest. Let me get this straight. You were involved in the SL9 incident. That's right. Quite a coincidence. I don't buy it. What are you saying? There's no way everyone involved in this trial was involved in that incident. Just by chance? But that case was solved 2 years ago. At least one person went to extremes because they didn't believe it was truly solved. Officer Marshall, yes, his actions came as a surprise to me as well. Ever since his brother died, he's changed completely. I guess he wasn't convinced with the ruling against Joe Darky. Life doesn't end with the closing of a case. Okay, let's think about this real quick. So let's just assume Joe Darky, right? Worst case scenario, Joe Darky wasn't responsible for any of the murders besides Marshall. Like, cause there's no way he was the only one. There's no one else who could have killed Marshall, right? I doubt that. So he killed Marshall, Prosecutor Marshall, and even if he got the death sentence, and even if he was guilty of just that murder, hypothetically, and got the death sentence, I mean, that means all the other innocent people would have a different perpetrator. But why would Officer Marshall care? He knows his brother's killer got executed, or is waiting to be executed. I don't know if he's been executed or not. Because it's like, if you put on death row, it's like a 10 to 15 year time period before you get executed. But anyway, everyone has to live the rest of their lives with their memories. That case just might not be over yet. Emma was assaulted by Darky at the police department, right? Yes, in the office that Damon, Grant, and I shared. The office that Mr. Grant now occupies by himself, the Chief's office. Maybe we should have a look at the Chief's office, the site of the final SL9 murder. I don't see Detective Gumshoe anywhere. Things kind of seem quiet around here today. You're right, the chief of detectives seems the same though. Why don't we go look for some other people to talk to? Right, we can come back later. I want to go to the... Oh, wait, is that at the police department? Uh-oh. Howdy, Bambina. Oh, Mr. Marshall. I never thought things turned out the way when I woke up this morning. Sierra. You never know where life will lead you, eh, Bambina? I should have known my luck had ran out when old Billy dried up this morning. Billy? Oh, the frickin' cactus, right? That cactus. Say, where are you headed? Just over to the prosecutor's office for a little interrogation. It's a voluntary appearance, but we all know I won't be doing that. Sorry, but you can't go in the evidence room today, partner. But Mr. Marshall, why did you do it? Why do prospectors head west? If there ever was a case I need to know the truth about, it's that way. Before you turn yourself in, Mr. Marshall, would you mind telling us exactly what happened? Looks like I won't be getting a steak lunch today. Something was fishy about that trial from the beginning. It wasn't just me either. All the detectives thought so. What do you mean, fishy? Some of the facts reported were inconsistent with the evidence found. For example, the murder weapon. The murder weapon? You mean that switchblade knife with the broken tip? That was Joe Darkey's, alright. But in the initial autopsy report, a question was raised. A question? The blade of the knife was not a perfect match with the wound the victim was sustained. What does that mean? It means there is a good chance that knife is not the murder weapon. However, in the report that was finally submitted, the possibility had been erased. The facts have been concealed with forged evidence. That case left behind scars on all of us. Scars that the SL9 incident left behind. Prosecutor Marshall. I got the looks, but he got the brains. He was one of the best prosecutors around. I had just made detective when it went down. It was our first case together. How old was he? Your brother. He was 27 at the time, so he would have been 29 now. He was awarded the highest honor that very day. The highest honor? You mean the King of Prosecutors? I knew it. What are you looking at me like that for? It's an honor for a prosecutor. Mr. Marshall must have really been close with his brother. The day the SL9 incident took place, that wasn't the same day as... That's right, it was the same day of the evidence transferal. Interesting. It was drizzling that morning, and by nightfall there was thunder. I can't believe 2 years have already gone by. I tried to steal the evidence so the case wouldn't die. Apparently someone tried to stop you. Detective Goodman was murdered, and the evidence locker was empty. Scars. There was something going on behind the scenes in that case. We all knew that later. Every detective involved in that investigation, save one, was taken care of. Miss Starr was fired, and I was demoted and boxed away in a tiny room. What about Detective Goodman? If they did something to him, the commissioners would get suspicious. No, they were careful enough not to get too obvious. They? Who are you talking about? I'm gonna say Grant and your sister. Don't get upset, Bambina. I mean Damon, Grant, and Lana Sky. Sky and Grant. Or Grant and Sky. The investigation led Damon Grant and his second-in-command, Lana Sky. There wasn't a person on the force who hadn't heard of that duo. That case was the biggest step in both of their careers. After the case ended, Lana transferred to prosecution's office, right? Yeah. Damon Grant, the new chief of police, arranged for that to happen. She'd never been the same since she left. Everyone who knew her said so. Chief Prosecutor Sky was totally different when she was a detective. Now that he mentions it, Emma said something like that too. Tell me, what happened to my sister? Sorry, Bambina, but her secret's too well guarded. I never found out. a secret. It all started 2 years ago. So, there you have it. That's my story. Did you enjoy it, partner? It was certainly enlightening. There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict, but someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Grant. Don't believe me? Well, I don't blame you. I won't even be a patrolman after today. Too bad I won't be around to work with you when you become a real scientific investigator. Adios, Bambina. Not Marshall. I didn't mean to go back here. Thanks. Wow. With the chief prosecutor saying what she did, oh. There's more chaos going on than Thanksgiving and Christmas put together. Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor. Really? It's okay. I mean, we aren't police officers or anything. Hey, you're right. You can't go in there. It's off limits. Now I see where Detective Gumshoe gets his unique charm. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's head to the chief's office. Okay. Homie has a big-ass piano. February 24th, Police Department Chief's Office. This is a very nice place. Whoa, where am I? In the Chief's office, silly. At least that's what it said on the door. Check out that pipe organ. That's real, isn't it? Hey, I used to take organ lessons in kindergarten. They used to call me Little Miss Batch. I don't get that. If that's a joke, I don't get it. I thought it was a genius. Oh. I didn't get finished reading that. Never could remember where C was. Uh-oh. Oh, it's you two. Chief Grant. Can you put that paper on the desk? So, Righto, have you been swimming lately? No, I haven't. I've been kind of busy. I can appreciate that. I've had my hands full, too, with Mr. Marshall's misconduct and Lana's provocated statement. Oh, you mean about the forged evidence? 2 years have passed since that incident. Mine, how time flies. See that big picture on the wall over there? Yeah, that popped up for like a second before it recorded. That picture of Lana and Neil is me. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil. Oh my god, look in the background. Look in the background. Between the Neil and frickin' Lana. That's the base. That's the same base. So this is Mr. Marshall's brother, Prosecutor Neil Marshall. We took it to commemorate our work together. Something's not right with that picture. It's the thing in the back. I can't quite seem to put my finger on it. Grant team picture out of the court record. Photo of the award ceremony of Grant, Lana, and Neil. I don't like how sharp that thing the guards will use. Are you gonna say anything? Anyway, I like to reminisce all day, but there's matters that need my attention. I'm gonna walk up here, so let's go out together. Oh, but this office, it was a crime scene 2 years ago, wasn't it? That case has long since been over. There's no need to investigate it anymore. All the same, we'd still like to have another look around. Perhaps you didn't hear me. I said there's no need to investigate anymore. I don't like that look he's got. Now hurry up and get out. I have a meeting to attend. He's hiding something. Looks like we aren't welcome. Seems that case isn't over yet after all. What do you mean? Chief Grant denied our request to search the crime scene. That means he must be having... That must be a reason he doesn't want us to look around in there. Yeah, especially considering he would loan anyone $50. You mean like a clue? There's got to be a way we can get inside the chief's office. Can I just go back in and just walk in? Hey, pal. Detective Gumshoe. Aren't you supposed to be in a meeting? I am just taking a breather. My feet hurt from sitting so long. Actually, from serving everyone coffee. Sounds like Detective Gumshoe's still out of the loop. Say, either of you see Mr. Edgeworth? Edgeworth? No, why do you ask? He's under fire from both the police department and the prosecutor's office. It's almost like the battles between you and court. That sounds serious. Is it because of what my sister said? That's basically what all it boils down to. That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood. Yikes. But why would Edgeworth be blamed? It's not like he knew the evidence was forged. Lana Skye is the guilty party here, isn't she? Sorry, Emma. Regardless, a prosecutor is responsible for the evidence they present in court. Not only that, but you know that there's been a lot of rumors going around about Mr. Edgeworth. His amazing talent as a prosecutor keep him safe from those who don't like him. But now with this, are they really so many people who hate him? In our world, only those with talent rise to the top. Mr. Edgeworth not only has that, but he's young. There's never better recipe I know for making enemies. Hey, Dick, keep up the good work. Yes, sir. Let's go out for lunch again sometime, my treat. Yes, sir. You gotta take me back to your joint sometime, okay, Dick? Yes, sir. Seems you don't have any problems with enemies. Yeah, well, I'm careful not to stick out. Anyway, I'm a bit worried about him. Under all this pressure, I'm afraid Mr. Edgeworth just might crack. What do you mean by that? I don't like how you're saying that. SL9 incident. Actually, I took a look at the file earlier while the coffee was brewing. Search for Edgeworth. Well, find out anything? The only evidence Darky left behind during his final attack. His final attack, you mean, when he killed the prosecutor marshal who was trying to protect some girl. So, oh, he doesn't know. Me. Seems like Detective Gumshoe never realized Emma was the girl. That's when he left the most incriminating evidence of all. Well, what was it? Oh, well, let's see. I think it had something to do with the murder. Oh, I forgot. Look, it's all written somewhere in here, okay? His powers of recollection never fail to impress. Maybe we should show him the murder weapon. It might jog his memory. Darky's crime. Oh, I didn't get to read that. A businessman, what made him take to serial killing? One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car. With his car? So it was an accident? An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal. An animal? He killed a man that witnessed the accident, then he killed a lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by then, so he killed him too. Then when a jogger came upon the scene, he was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in. Of course, this is all conjure. There wasn't a single shred of evidence, so he turned himself in. Yes, but in the middle of his questioning, he fled and murdered his final victim, Prosecutor Marshall. The crime was witnessed by someone too, but luckily Darky was arrested on the spot. It was a good thing the last witness wasn't killed. That last witness, aka Emma. About this. Hey, is that it? It has a tag attached to it. Label SL9 incident. I believe this would be the broken murder weapon you were speaking of. What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in a locker. On the day Detective Goodman was murdered, this suddenly disappeared from the locker and was found in Mr. Edgeworth's car muffler. That's it! Now I remember what that incriminating piece of evidence was. When you showed me that knife, it all came back to me. Well, what was it, Detective? Quick, before you forget again. I apologize. This knife, it was Joe Darky's, wasn't it? That's right. We traced it back to the store he bought it at. Plus, it had his fingerprints on it, too. And no one witnessed him using it to murder anyone, right? That's where his luck ran out. When you take a good look at the knife, you'll see it's broken. You don't have to take a good look to notice that. Yeah, well, anyway. Take a guess where the broken tip of the knife was found. I'm gonna have to guess in freaking the prosecutor's back. That's what did him in. Where was it? The victim, Neil Marshall, was carrying it inside his own body. It was found deep inside the stab wound. Did it match the Darky's knife? You bet, down to the last fiber. That's pretty conclusive. Neil, autopsy report, added equal record. Stabbed in the back, died from punctured heart and lung. The knife tip was found in the switchblade knife. The broken tip was found in the victim's body, belonging to the murderer, Joe Darky. Well, there you have it, in a nutshell. That's all I know. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? If it's money, you should ask Chief Grant. It's not money, but it does concern the chief. His office is a crime scene, right? It's where Prosecutor Neil was murdered. Neil Marshall was murdered. The chief's out now and his office is locked, but we'd like to have a look around if that's okay. Well, any detective's ID card can unlock the door. What? Really? But if I let a civilian in there, I'd be charged with breach of trust. Breach of trust? Simply put it, I'd be canned. Oh. Sorry, pal. I don't plan on getting fired because of you. How about this ID card, Detective Gibbons? That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died. In other words, no shoot is the only chance we have of getting into that office. I wonder if there's something we could use to show him that would make him change his mind. I did not mean to check it, I meant to present it. It has to be this or it's the picture. About that jar, I think I've seen it somewhere before, somewhere. Or maybe it's just one of those memory people have from a previous life. This must be the most uninformative detective I've ever met. Something about it makes me feel uneasy. It's like I'm in the chief's office and he's yelling at me. Chief Grant? Where could I have seen that before? The picture! Let me show you. It's in the background. Prosecutors have no business showing evidence outside of court. It's taboo, especially when the interests of both parties are involved. She really means it. Am I gonna see Miss Starr? No one's here today, not even Miss Starr. Everyone's probably busy looking into what exactly went down in the evidence room. That must be where the detectives are. But we proved in court that on the day of the crime, no one was murdered in the evidence room at 5:15. Yeah, I thought we were finally making some headway in our case, but instead it looks like we just ended up making Lana look even more guilty. Hang in there, Lana. I've got to find all the answers by tomorrow. That's where we found the note. The SL9 incident, a case that was due for transferal that day. Never knew the SL9 incident referred to, the Joe Darkey killings. Everyone in this case played some part in that incident. This has to be more than just sheer coincidence. That's about as red as a sports car can get. Yep, pretty red, alright. Body was found in Edward's trunk, and the lock on the trunk was broken. So the question is, why didn't this car choose this car? So what model is this? Those are car types, Miss Wright, not models. You're a guy, aren't you, Miss Wright? You're supposed to know these things. Maybe it's about the time I get my driver's license. You know what? I'm actually going to end today's episode. It's going to be a relatively shorter episode, but I do have to get ready to go to work. So unfortunately, I do have to end today's episode here. I have a feeling the next episode, it will be the final episode of this episode. I have no idea how many times I've just said the word episode. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys had a good day. Hope you guys have a good night. Hope you guys have a great day tomorrow.